April 10th, 2021, 2:58 a.m., Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport. A violent thunderstorm hits the runway. Wind pushes sheets of rain across the concrete. Lightning flashes behind rows of parked aircraft. Water pours off the wings of grounded jets. The storm is loud enough to shake the windows of the terminal. Inside the South Cargo Wing, a 39-year-old baggage handler named Daniel Rojas pushes a luggage cart across the wet floor. His clothes are soaked. His gloves drip water. His steel-toe boots leave muddy prints with each step. He moves past a security guard who stands under a leaking awning. The guard nods. Daniel nods back. Nothing unusual, nothing suspicious. In exactly 40 minutes, this man will find a shipment worth more money than he could earn in an entire lifetime. And before sunrise, he will disappear forever. They searched for him for 2 years. They never found him. Before I walk you through the full story, I just have a small favor to ask. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and let me know in the comments where you are watching from. It is always interesting to see how far this audience reaches. Now let us begin. Daniel was invisible. That was his strength. That was his curse. He did not know it yet, but invisibility would define every step of the events that follow. Daniel had worked at the airport for 5 years. He loaded luggage, pushed carts, and guided bags onto conveyor belts. He worked the graveyard shift from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Passengers never noticed him. Pilots ignored him. Supervisors saw only the uniform. He was 39 years old, born in Maracaibo, Venezuela. He had arrived in the United States 10 years earlier, escaping political turmoil and hoping to earn money for his family. He carried the physical marks of a lifetime of labor. Broad shoulders, long arms, hands hardened by years of lifting, pulling, and pushing heavy cargo. Daniel was 5'9" tall. He weighed 170 pounds. He had the endurance of someone who had worked tough jobs his entire life. He never owned a gym membership. He never needed one. Back home, he had 2 children, a daughter named Sophia, a son named Miguel. He sent them money every month through wire transfers. The money paid for school supplies, uniforms, and basic medical care. Daniel lived alone in a small studio apartment in Dania Beach. The building was old. The paint peeled from the walls. The roof leaked during storms. The air conditioner worked when it wanted to. The apartment cost him $1,200 per month. Daniel earned $14.50 per hour. After taxes, his weekly paycheck was $483. He worked overtime whenever possible. He skipped days off. He took extra shifts when other workers called out sick. He survived paycheck to paycheck. Some weeks he had less than $40 left after bills. He drove a 2005 Honda Accord with 210,000 miles on the engine. The brakes squeaked. The transmission slipped. The tires were nearly bald. He could not afford repairs. His mother back home needed medicine that cost $200 per month. His daughter needed dental surgery that cost $3,000. His son wanted to attend a private soccer academy that cost money Daniel did not have. Every month he sent between $400 and $600 to Venezuela. He skipped meals to do it. He drank water instead of buying lunch. He lived quietly and alone. No vacations, no celebrations, no purchases beyond basic survival. Daniel never complained. He accepted the routine. He accepted the long nights. He accepted the loneliness of American labor. But one night, everything changed. Most passengers never see the cargo side of an airport. It is a world of conveyor belts, forklifts, steel containers, and workers who move quickly through narrow hallways. The South Cargo Wing of Fort Lauderdale Airport handled both standard luggage and special shipments. Some shipments were legitimate, some were not. Daniel had noticed unusual activity over several months. Shipments marked as medical supplies, laboratory chemicals, or industrial parts arrived late at night when few workers were present. The crates were sealed. The documentation always checked out. But something felt off. Every Thursday and Sunday night, around 2:30 in the morning, a private courier van entered the cargo zone. The van had tinted windows. The plates were registered to a shell company. 2 men exited the van. One wore a jacket that said Aviation Services. The other wore plain clothes. They always headed to the same storage unit, Cargo Bay 7. The bay was supposed to store delayed luggage from earlier flights, but on these nights it held crates that did not match any luggage lists. Daniel noticed patterns in their behavior. They never opened the crates in public view. They carried clipboards but never wrote anything. They spoke to no one except one specific supervisor, and every time they came, they left with duffel bags instead of crates. Daniel saw this for months. He stayed silent. It was not his business. He had learned long ago that survival depended on minding his own work. But in March of 2021, a crate broke open, and everything changed. It happened during a storm, similar to the one in the opening scene. A forklift hit a crate at a wrong angle. The wood splintered. Bundles of cash spilled out, wrapped in plastic, stacked in bricks, held together with rubber bands. The forklift driver panicked. The supervisor ordered him to leave. Two men from the courier van arrived within minutes. They examined the damage. They sealed the crate with industrial tape. They whispered to each other. One of them looked around. Daniel stood 20 feet away, pretending to push a luggage container. The man locked eyes with him. Daniel looked down at the floor and kept moving. They did not approach him. They did not say his name. They assumed he saw nothing. Daniel had seen everything. From that day, the thought never left him. That crate held more money than he could earn in 80 years of labor. One accident had exposed a smuggling operation that used the airport as a transfer point, but Daniel did nothing. Not yet. Daniel began paying attention with the discipline of someone who understood risk. Every Sunday, every Thursday, 2:30 a.m., the van arrived. Crates moved in, duffel bags moved out, no scanning, no inspection, no paperwork shared with the regular staff. Daniel memorized schedules. He noted guard rotation times. He knew when cameras faced certain angles. He learned which supervisors walked the corridor and when they took their coffee breaks. He watched for 6 weeks. He made no moves. He spoke to no one. He kept his observations private. Invisibility required silence. April 10th, 2:30 a.m. The forecast predicted heavy storms across Broward County. Thunder rolled across the airport. Lightning hit the runway and made cameras flicker. Wind pushed rain against the steel cargo doors. Daniel reported to work early, as he always did. He wore a reflective vest, gloves, and a tired expression. There were fewer workers on shift because weather delays had scattered schedules. At 2:40 a.m., the private courier van arrived. Same van, same men, same behavior. They backed the van to Cargo Bay 7. They unlocked the bay. They moved inside. Something was different tonight. Daniel felt it. The storm was louder. The cameras flickered more often. 2 guards were reassigned to the main terminal because of stranded passengers. Cargo Bay 7 had less surveillance than usual. Daniel pushed a luggage cart toward the bay. He pretended to move bags from one section to another. He listened. Inside the bay, the men argued. One said the paperwork was delayed. The other said they could not wait. The supervisor spoke quietly, trying to calm both of them. Daniel stepped closer, pretending to restack a luggage container. Then he heard it. "We have to leave 2 crates behind until the morning." Daniel froze. 2 crates, left alone. He waited until the men exited the bay to talk near the van. Daniel pushed his cart inside. The bay smelled like damp wood and machine oil. Thunder shook the metal walls. 2 crates sat in the center. One was sealed. The other was cracked along the top, weakened from previous transport. Daniel ran his hand along the cracked section. He applied pressure. The wood shifted. Inside were bricks of cash, rows and rows of money, wrapped in plastic, stacked neatly, hundreds of bundles, possibly thousands. Daniel's breath tightened. He looked at the door. No footsteps, no voices. The storm masked all sound. He made the calculation in his mind. 1 crate held about $3 million. The other likely held the same, $6 million, sitting in front of him, unattended, unsupervised, unseen. He knew he had maybe 3 minutes before the supervisor returned, 2 minutes if the guard came this way, 1 minute if anyone decided to check the hallway. But the storm gave him cover. Lightning flashed, cameras reset. For 3 seconds, they lost signal. That was all Daniel needed. Daniel moved quickly. He broke the crate open. He grabbed 2 duffel bags lying on a nearby shelf. He filled the first duffel bag with bundles of cash. He worked fast, grabbing as many as he could. The bag became heavy. He zipped it shut. He filled the second duffel bag. More bundles, more weight. He stopped only when he could barely lift them. He placed the bags under trash liners in his luggage cart. He covered them with jackets, gloves, and discarded luggage tags. To anyone passing by, it looked like a normal shift. Daniel pushed the cart out of the bay. His heart pounded. His breathing stayed steady. His steps followed a normal rhythm. No one looked at him. He was invisible. Daniel knew the airport better than anyone. He had walked every hallway, tunnel, and maintenance corridor during his 5 years of work. The public elevators were monitored. The main cargo corridor had cameras every 20 feet. The forklift access tunnel was not monitored because it was considered low risk. Daniel took that tunnel, 200 yards long, dim lights, echoing footsteps, pipes overhead, dust on the floor. He moved his cart carefully, keeping the wheels quiet. At the end of the tunnel was a service door. Beyond the door was the employee parking lot. Only one camera covered the exit, and it faced the opposite direction because the storm had knocked it sideways. Daniel stepped outside. Rain soaked him instantly. He reached his car. He opened the trunk. He lifted the bags and placed them beneath a tarp. He covered them with a spare tire, jumper cables, and a toolbox. He shut the trunk. The money was hidden. Daniel could not leave immediately. Leaving right after handling cargo would look suspicious. He wiped his face. He changed his gloves. He returned the empty luggage cart to its storage area. He clocked out at 3:15 a.m., the exact time he clocked out every night. Nothing unusual. He walked calmly to his car. He started the engine. He drove toward the exit gate. The guard scanned his badge. Daniel nodded. The guard waved him through. The car rolled out into the storm. Daniel drove north toward Interstate 95. The rain was heavy. Visibility was low. He kept both hands on the wheel. At 3:40 a.m., he passed Oakland Park Boulevard. At 3:58, he crossed into Palm Beach County. At 4:20, he exited the highway and pulled into a closed gas station. He waited for 10 minutes. No cars followed him. He kept driving. Daniel arrived in West Palm Beach at 5:15 a.m. He parked behind a mechanic shop that belonged to a distant cousin. He had called the cousin earlier during the shift, asking for a favor without giving details. A pickup truck sat behind the shop. Old, dented, reliable. Registered to someone who no longer lived in the state. The keys were under the floor mat. The registration was in the glove box. A simple note sat on the passenger seat. It said 2 words, "Good luck." Daniel transferred the duffel bags from his car to the truck. He wiped every surface he had touched in his old car. He left the doors unlocked. He left the keys inside. By sunrise, the Honda would be stolen or towed, erasing his trail. At 6:12 a.m., Daniel drove the pickup truck onto Interstate 95 heading north. He passed Jupiter, Stewart, Fort Pierce, Vero Beach, Melbourne, Cocoa, Titusville, Daytona. He never looked back. At 7:30 a.m., the supervisor checked Cargo Bay 7. One crate was broken. The other was missing bricks of cash. He froze. He called his contact from the courier van. They arrived within 20 minutes. They examined the scene. They argued. They blamed each other. They reviewed the footage. Nothing showed the theft. The cameras flickered during the storm. The angle near the bay showed no one entering except workers on normal routes. One camera showed Daniel pushing a cart. Nothing unusual. He was working as always. He moved luggage. He entered cargo bays as assigned. He walked the same path he walked every night. The footage showed nothing suspicious. The supervisor called airport security. Security reviewed the same footage. They saw no evidence of theft. They assumed the missing items were a documentation error, but the courier men did not accept that explanation. By 10 a.m., the smuggling network learned of the missing money. They sent enforcers from Miami. These men arrived at the airport by noon. They interviewed supervisors, guards, forklift drivers, and cleaning staff. They asked questions no one had answers to. They demanded details no one could provide. They learned that one worker had clocked out shortly before the storm ended. His name was Daniel Rojas. They visited his apartment. He was gone. The room was clean. No personal items, no clothes, no photos. He had prepared in advance. They checked his car. It was gone too. By the time they reached Palm Beach County, Daniel had already crossed into Georgia. Airport security submitted a report. They described it as a possible internal theft involving missing property from a restricted cargo bay. They could not specify what was taken. No supervisor was willing to admit the crate carried illegal items. Local police reviewed footage and found nothing criminal. Customs officials were notified but had no evidence of federal crimes. There were no fingerprints on the crate, no clear video, no witnesses. The smuggling network considered the possibility that a worker had stolen millions, but they did not know which worker, and they could not involve law enforcement. By the time they confirmed Daniel's absence, he was far beyond their reach. Daniel drove north for 8 hours. He stopped only to buy fuel with cash. He avoided highways with heavy surveillance. He traveled back roads. He crossed state lines without drawing attention. He reached the border of North Carolina by late afternoon. He kept driving. At 9 p.m., he checked into a small roadside motel. He used cash. He used no identification. He kept the pickup out of view from the front office. He slept 4 hours. By 2 a.m., he was back on the road. He crossed into Tennessee, then Kentucky, then Illinois. He stopped at gas stations. He took side roads. He stayed invisible. He did not speak to anyone. By the end of the week, Daniel had vanished. Some believe he crossed into Mexico. Some believe he went to Canada. Some believe he bought a new identity. Some believe he returned to Venezuela. No one knows. The money was never recovered. The crates were never traced. The smuggling network never found him. The case remains unsolved. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next story.